Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you today?
I'm okay. I don't remember when we spoke last. So was it like Wednesday or something? I don't know when I
Thursday? It
talked
was,
to you.
was it? It
I don't
was,
know what's happened because
was
I don't
it
know when.
Wednesday night or was it
Oh, no,
Thursday
Thursday.
morning? Okay,
It was
yeah, it was
Thursday
Thursday.
morning. Okay. So since we've spoken, now that I know when that was,
Yeah,
um, I'm good. I went to Baton Rouge this weekend and got to see my pup. My pup. I love her. Um, so hung out with Sadie and got to hang out with my aunts. We played some video games. I had Johnny's Pizza, which is the best. Which I also had left over for lunch today. So
nice.
pizza, we had donuts. It was just kind of like a little getaway. I didn't work and now
Nice.
I'm panicking because I didn't work, but it's fine. Um, it's fine. I'll recover. I won't sleep for the next few days or something. But
Sure.
it's okay. So yeah, it was just a really good time. I feel like I did something else while I was there that I was going to tell you. I don't know. We watched a lot of CSI, which is fun. Did you ever watch those?
Yeah.
I loved those. We watched the original with like
Yes.
Grissom and Sarah
Very
Silent, the
nice.
best one, the best one. Um,
I was really into CSI Miami, but I think it was just the actors. Like I really liked the actors that were in it, and I liked making fun of what's his name with the sunglasses.
yeah.
My
What
my
what has it
phone.
said?
It was Jack O'Neill saying "off" for crying out loud. That's the text tone on my
Uh,
phone. My phone is volume is on specifically because I'm potentially waiting for a phone call. But I keep forgetting that I left the volume on and scaring myself when Jack starts talking to me.
yes, it's a little jarring, but it's okay. Oh, that's what I was gonna tell you. For those of you who have Samsung TVs, have you watched like do you have any Samsung TVs?
I do not.
They have like free Samsung channels apparently when you have a Samsung TV.
Yes, that I did know.
I did not.
Okay.
But Friday I was like getting settled in bed and I was like, what am I gonna watch? I just want to like flip through channels. I don't want to like
Yeah.
watch streaming or anything. And so Friday night, I is when I discovered this, and I watched MacGyver. Speaking of Jack O'Neill,
Fantastic. I love
and
it.
I yeah, so that was the first time I ever watched it, and he did some crazy stuff with some spider webs and nonsense. It was wild.
Yeah,
And then I found out the next night they had like an SNL channel, and it was just clips from SNL. Oh my God, it was highlight of my life.
that's
And so
amazing.
now I don't know if we have any Samsung TVs here. The one in front of me is a Pioneer, so I don't think it's Samsung, but one of these other ones, I'm going to check it out because I just, so much joy, so much joy.
Love that.
But how are you?
I'm okay. I also had a very like chill, relaxing weekend. I'm trying to think, what did I do? Oh, I was supposed to work at Shay's Friday and Saturday night, but they were like one-off concerts of like tribute bands, and it was the end of the season, and based on number like sales and how late and like the summer starting and everything, they both got postponed. So I did not work.
What show was it again?
I don't remember. They were like tribute band concerts. I don't even remember who they
Oh,
were. Yeah, it
just
was like yeah. I think one of them might have been like a Chicago tribute band or something to that nature. It was like that level of like
interesting. Like
tributes.
Eagles.
Yeah, basically. Um, but they both got canceled. So I had two nights that were originally supposed to be work nights that I just got to chill and
That's
relax.
nice.
And it was very nice. I summer is officially here. I have no more work. Both jobs are done for the summer.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yes, that is good.
yeah. No, not the fact that I don't have a job. The fact that it
I thought you
is
were going to talk
summer.
about the heat.
No. Summer is officially here, which means it is back to me being able to drink while we record. Because I don't have to worry about teaching in the morning. And so today I am drinking a Dark Horse Rosé. It is not great. So, but
Well, it's been open for like 4 months.
it's
So,
fine. Yeah, I can't I don't remember it being good to begin with, but it is very
right.
not good when it is aerated. So
Mhm.
I'm drinking it with a straw and hoping for the best. But that's
Nice,
how I'm
nice.
doing.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent. I forgot that we were supposed to like prepare something to say about what we had done. So sorry, this was a little bit of a short intro.
Yeah, as I press record, go, I don't think I did enough in the last 3 days to talk about 3 episodes worth of things that I did. So we're just gonna fucking wing it.
I did want to talk about Samsung TV, but that had left my brain before we started recording.
Got
So
it, got
it
it.
just came
I
back to
know
me.
the things that I did yesterday I will talk about, but like I have to.
We have 3 episodes to
We
record.
have 3 episodes we're recording today, so we'll get there. So basically, I just want to talk about the fact that for Friday and Saturday, I just chilled and did nothing and caught up on RuPaul's Drag Race and
Nice.
Doctor Who and just existed. And it was the first time since, I don't know, February that I just existed and did nothing and didn't feel stressed about doing nothing.
So that was me this weekend, but it was because I was pretending like I shouldn't be stressed. And then I got back and I was like, oh no, I should be stressed.
Oh shit. Talking about shit.
Yeah. But it's fine.
But so since we both came off of very relaxing weekends and have to become people again, can you give us some words of wisdom and inspiration to help us become people?
Absolutely. I've got you. Sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but you've actually been planted. Christine Kane.
I love that. Oh, how nice.
I know. I meant to look up if Christine Kane was related to any of the Kanes or anything. Oh no, she's Australian.
Oh, cool.
She's an author.
Great. What kind of books does she write?
I was about to look up. Looks like like motivational books. It looks like resilient hope and Christian and empowering books.
Great.
Finding your way back to God when everything is pulling you away.
Okay. I'm into it.
Daring to do what God calls you to do. Yeah, so,
cool.
An Australian Christian motivational author. That is how I'm describing her.
Love it.
Good. She seems fine. Seems fine. So we can take her advice.
Great. We are talking today about Stargate SG-1 Season 6, Episode 5, Nightwalkers. Which has not a lot to do with vampires. No.
I know they're called daywalkers, but I for sure thought we were going in a vampire realm.
I love that. It was rated 7.1 stars, which is the lowest so far this season. I mean, we are only on episode 5, so that's not a lot to go from. It is the lowest of the season. Which I guess
makes fine so far. Sense. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. It is not the lowest of the season. It's just the lowest so far.
Okay. I don't like when we break into the 6s.
We will, yeah.
I know.
It came out on Friday, July 12th, 2002. So we jumped ahead a couple weeks because we took a break for 4th of July, which is which is 2-3
what
days
I should
ago.
do on Thursday, and I'm not probably. I'm sure I'll be working all day. It's fine.
Yeah. Fun fact, we recorded the episode that comes out on 4th of July. Completely did not remember to mention that it was 4th of July. We've already recorded that. We're fucked. So happy 4th of July weekend.
Happy 4th of July. We don't know what day it is.
Yeah. Your 4th of July weekend is over now and you're getting ready to go back to work and I'm so sorry.
I hope you saw some pretty fireworks and didn't scare any dogs.
Yes. All that. We have the same number 1 song and number 1 book from last week. But the number 1 movie is really funny only because of the wardrobe of this episode. Because the number 1 movie
is it Blade?
No, but that would be that's
because that's exactly what I thought when I saw Teal'c.
Yeah, the number 1 movie this week was Men in Black 2.
Also,
and good, so Teal'c and Jonas's outfits just made me die laughing. So I was like, what is 2002?
This is it. All of it.
But there was genuinely no news. Like I spent like 15 minutes and I could not find a single thing of news anywhere. I guess it was a bad day for the stock market, but like I could not find a fucking thing worth talking about, unfortunately. Right. So we're gonna move on from that.
Excellent choice.
I feel like the week after a holiday in the summer, like nobody has anything happening. So like unless something wild and crazy happens, there's nothing to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, internet news still wasn't a thing in 2002. So like, The episode was directed by Peter DeLuise, written by Joseph Molisi and Paul Mully, and edited by Brad Rhymes. So there.
Yep.
Our guest is Blue Mankuma, who plays Sheriff Knox. He is known for 2012, Upside Down, The Last Rites of Ransom Bride, and The Final Cut. He's a lot of guest roles, a lot of voice work, kind of our usual shtick for these guys. He plays police officers a lot because he has like that big presence. But he also was in the pilot episode of Dead Like Me.
That's where I was recognizing him from.
He played the man who is the first one that who is the one who George sees sitting on the bench, like the one who basically who reaps her, who she sees following her around before she gets hit with the toilet thing. Yeah. His name was Dwayne. My favorite fun fact that I could learn about him was that he moved to Canada in 1968 as a draft dodger, and he openly said that that's what he did. He moved to avoid the Vietnam War and then never came back. He still lives in Canada.
Good for him.
Yep. So
interesting. I feel like I've seen him in something else that like stands out. Like that definitely stands out.
I'm sure. I feel the same way. And I looked through his credits and I couldn't really find anything that like jumped out to me. He just is in everything. Like I feel like I've seen everything he's ever done. But
he's in your Tin Man show.
Yes, he is in Tin Man. He is a lot, like I said, he does a lot of voice work. He was in an episode of Fringe. He was in an episode of Alcatraz.
He's in Halloween Town too.
Yes. He was in Smallville. He was in Supernatural. He was in Like Mike too. He was in Andromeda. But yeah, he's just one of those guys who's been in
it was probably Halloween Town that I
of stuff.
Most recently saw him in. I've watched that since Dead Like Me.
Probably. Oh yeah. He played Gort. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but so like I said, he's not like he never really seemed to be the star in anything, but he was in probably everything we've ever watched. Most things that if you look through his IMDb, most of the things that have more than 3 or 4 episodes are animated. He does a lot of voice work. So he was also in 2 episodes of The X-Files, and I know you've rewatched that recently.
Yeah, but I only got through like season 3, so I don't know. I don't know if he was in the early part or later part.
I don't know, but yeah. So he's just one of those guys who's everywhere. I have a lot of trivia for this episode, so just stay tuned for that.
I am so excited.
So we start the episode with a man that we do not know running to his car in the rain in the middle of the night, which is always a fun way to start an episode of anything. And he calls,
which also led into my vampire theory.
True.
So I was sold for a minute.
And then he calls Sam and says he needs to talk to her, and she's like, it's 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Which to be fair, I'm pretty sure they're in different time zones, and so it's only 1:00 in the morning where he is, but that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. It's still the middle of the night.
That's still pretty late, yeah.
Yeah. And he tells her that Adrian Conrad never shut down his project. And then he gets run off the road. And we get the credits.
To remember who Adrian Conrad was. Like, they tell you, so I got back there.
They did.
But at first I was like, which guy was this? I was like, is this the scientist guy, or was this the guy that they were studying who was an alien that Sam fell in love with? I didn't know if they were studying him and his name was Adrian, or if it was the scientist that was doing it, and it was the scientist.
That's totally fair. They do later in the episode make sure that you know. I don't know why I'm yawning. I'm not tired. I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay.
So then after the credits, Sam fills the team minus Jack in on the results of her on her phone call. And Jonas nerds out because he reads too much and he like knows everything about the scientist who called Sam in the middle of the night. Um, and Teal'c and Sam are much less worried about who Dr. Fleming, that's we find out his name is Dr. Fleming, who Dr. Fleming is, and more about who Dr. Fleming was working for. Because Adrian Conrad, not a great guy. In case you did forget, Adrian Conrad is the man who tried to cure his terminal illness by implanting a Goa'uld into himself and kidnapped Sam to study her protein markers. Which they
Good
explain
times.
because Jonas pretends he doesn't know who that is, so they explain it to him. But after calling Sam, Dr. Fleming was reported missing. He never returned to work the next day. And so they're a little concerned. And so Hammond is sending them out to Steveston, Oregon to investigate. But Jack is still with the Tok'ra looking for a new host for his symbiote, so he will not be going with them. It's just Sam and her aliens.
Which you did warn us about last week.
I did warn you that we would not address Jack and the Tok'ra this episode. So after Teal'c and Hammond leave the room, Sam asks Jonas why he pretended not to know who Adrian Conrad was, which obviously in terms of script writing was so that we could remember who Adrian Conrad was. But for Jonas's character, it makes no sense for him to not know who that is. And he was like, I just am so afraid that everybody thinks I'm weird. And Sam's like, nobody thinks you're weird. And he was like, what about he's like, what about Lieutenant or Colonel O'Neill? And she goes, do you want to go get lunch? Like, about that.
Yeah.
Great. And so they arrive in Steveston and Teal'c and Jonas should just both never be allowed on Earth. Like they're acting so weird.
They're so strange and bless their hearts.
Yeah. I mean, Jonas is taking pictures of literally everything just in case.
And also, like, he had no like prep. Like Teal'c, we watched be prep before he was like released into the world.
Yeah.
Jonas was sent with Teal'c, who also probably still needs a little bit of handling.
Yeah.
Into the world.
Correct. Jonas is taking pictures of everything with a digital camera and then trying to explain a digital camera to Sam, like she needs that. And Teal'c looks like he's an undercover agent for Men in Black who is not trying that hard to be undercover / Blade. Like it is just wild. So they get there and Sam goes to see the sheriff and he seems nice enough, but he like really does not want the Air Force to be involved. And it is very much like at first it kind of seems like maybe he's being sketchy, but the more you like listen to the conversation, it is very much not like a hiding anything. It's a like, we're a small town that hasn't had a single murder in 8 years.
Yeah.
I don't want to have had something that happened so bad that the Air Force showed up when my people are already struggling and like shit like this does not happen here. I don't know what to do.
Right.
And he's like, but it feels wrong. Something's wrong. And she's like, well, like, what do you know about Dr. Fleming? And he's like, well, the people who worked at Immunotech really did not talk to us. Like, it was as if there were two different worlds in the town. And basically, like, the only reason the locals were even, like, cool with how weird and separated the Immunotech people were was because they were so devastated from the shipyard closing 2 years ago and they needed the money. And it turns out that when Adrian's anyway, when Dr. Fleming died, there were amphetamines in his car, but he has no history of drug use. And then to top it off, the Immunotech lab that he worked in burned down the night before.
A lot of good things are happening.
So Sheriff Knox is just like, I don't want you here. But I also have no idea how to even begin to investigate this case, so I'm not gonna tell you to leave. So Sam and the guys decide to head to Dr. Fleming's house because they can't investigate the lab, so at least they can look at his house, but they're definitely being watched as they do that. So that's fun. And they get there, and it turns out his house is too empty. So either someone cleaned up after him or he knew something was going to happen to himself and cleaned up because there is nothing there.
Yeah, feels a little more like someone else probably.
Probably. And then while they're there, weirdly, at the perfect timing, a package arrives addressed from Dr. Fleming to Dr. Fleming
Very convenient.
with a weird giant syringe in it. And I say giant because when Sam pulled that out, I was like, in no fucking universe is that going into a human body. It looked like a syringe you sedate an elephant with. It was fucking huge.
Or like a turkey baster. Like it was so large. Like what you use that for cooking, not for medicating. Ugh.
That's what I tell people about my oregano too. Just kidding. I don't need drugs. So they start looking at this turkey baster of medication, and they start to come up with theories about what the syringe could be and decide that they're going to need to talk to some more people in the morning and send a sample of this thing to the lab for testing. Then we get a weird scene where everyone in the entire town walks into a warehouse ? We didn't know at the time what it was. I believe it's the shipyard, but like at the time it just looked like a weird old building.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, almost like zombie-like, to discuss what they're going to do about the intruders. So, things are going well.
As they do.
Then in the morning, everyone goes to lunch to discuss how no one will talk to them after they've tried to talk to some people. And they also discuss something that I just want to pause and talk about for 1 second.
Okay.
Jonas's eating habits. Sam is very concerned about how much Jonas is eating for lunch and what he's eating because he's like dipping onion rings in milkshakes.
He is, yeah.
But I would like to also just ask you if you have noticed that every time you see Jonas, he is eating.
I had not noticed that, but now that you mention it, he is usually eating.
Yes, he is almost always eating something, whether it's like an apple or a banana or like a cup of coffee or something. He does not
ingesting something.
He is not ever not eating. Like, and I don't know. I haven't dug into it yet about if there was a character reason for it, but I do know that on some of the official Stargate drinking games, Jonas being hungry is one of the things you drink about because this man is fucking always eating.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, does that alien species have like this like insanely high metabolism, or did they just have really bad food and he came to Earth and was like, everything here is good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep eating and drinking.
Yeah, I think maybe both.
Mm-hmm.
Because probably if you're a culture with that high of a metabolism, you're eating for energy, not for enjoyment.
Right.
Whereas in America, specifically in America, like in the world, but in America specifically, we eat to eat.
Right. But also like he's dipping fries in ice cream. So like is that just for like eating purposes, or
no,
is
that's definitely like a lot. Like, I mean, I don't know.
I've done that.
Oh no, me
against it, but
me too. I've never dipped an onion ring in a milkshake. Fries,
sure.
No.
Well, I don't really eat onion rings, so but I would if I ate onion rings. I probably would to try it. Who's to say it's not good?
I think it's because the onion leaves a weird taste in the milkshake. I think it would taste fine on the onion ring, but like if you dip fries in milkshake, you can still drink the milkshake after. I don't know that I could
Mhm.
drink a milkshake after.
I mean, you put onions in anything and I don't want it after. So I'm not the right one to
To answer that
analyze
question.
that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes. Um, but Jonas, not only does he fucking eat everything, he also has the weirdest memory in the entire world, which we have discussed a few times. But in this case, it brings us some pretty good information because he just calls out the fact. They're like, I don't know what to do. Everyone here seems so normal. And Jonas is like, no, no, they don't.
Not at all. Not 0%.
And the thing is, Jonas, the one of the three of them with the least experience of human interaction, is the only one who seems to be noticing these things, which is just wild to me.
Well, also, like, granted, he has been studying human nature,
That's true.
like, insane, like, and learns a lot faster than others. So that's all he's been focusing on, other than the weather. So
But he notices that the guy at the table behind Teal'c has put 8 cubes of sugar into his coffee without knowing that that's what he did. The girl at the counter has read the same article in the newspaper for 30 minutes. The waitress has dropped 2 trays of food, and the chef has messed up at least 3 orders.
and I feel like so 2 out of 4 I get, because like how does he know 8 cubes of sugar is not normal? He just dipped an onion ring in a milkshake.
Correct.
Like, who's to say that that's not acceptable?
I think it's because the guy was doing it without realizing that he was doing it. Like he was just like haphazardly putting sugar in his coffee.
Sure.
Which,
and
to be fair, if I
Yeah.
haven't had my coffee yet, who knows what I'm doing?
Right. No, absolutely. Like that is a little less issue. And then the girl reading the article, who's to say she's not dyslexic or has a very slow reading speed? Like, he reads a million times faster than everyone else. So his speeding read.
True.
Reading speed. I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, that's not the right order. His reading speed is off for monitoring other people.
Right.
But the cook doing 3 orders wrong in a town where probably everyone's getting the exact same thing every day.
Yeah.
And the woman like dropping stuff and looking at things while she's dropping stuff because she's paying attention to other things instead of what she's doing.
Yeah.
Those two are a little more
Well, and he says it's not even just that those are odd behaviors. It's just that all of them are doing it in a way where it seems like they're not awake.
Right.
And he's like, if everyone in the room looks like they're not awake, something is up. Because like if one person is like, I'm so fucking tired, I don't remember how many sugars I put in my coffee, fine.
Sure.
If one person is reading a newspaper or one waitress is having a bad day, like if each one of those people were the only ones with a problem, you would blame it on the person. But if everyone in the restaurant is having a problem that comes from a lack of sleep, something is going on.
Absolutely.
It could just be that they all go to raves and pretend to be normal people during the day, but like it's a sci-fi show, so my guess is probably not that.
Could be vampires.
Right. So then the deputy interrupts and asks Sam to go talk to Sheriff Knox. And Sheriff Knox tells Sam that the fire was in fact deliberate. They found way more gasoline than was necessary to even light a fire at the lab. So like it was deliberate and sloppy. And everyone at Immunotech has a confidentiality agreement, so they will not talk about what they're working on. And the people in town can't afford to lose another like big business, so they're not going to talk either. So he doesn't really know how to help her, except for to let her know that another researcher who was partners with Dr. Fleming also disappeared 2 months ago, and they didn't think anything of it until it was a pattern. And the biggest problem is that the company itself has been less than helpful in giving them information. And so the sheriff's office subpoenaed documents, but basically because of the confidentiality agreement, more than half of these documents are redacted.
Which like is super shady. I don't know why they think they're like just getting away with stuff.
I mean, I do understand that like a high tech research company, especially one working in like medical research, would not have their files super public. And so like to a small town sheriff who doesn't
Well,
know
sure.
anything, he's gonna look at all those redacted lines and be like, this is not fucking helpful. But Sam might be able to get something more out of it. So like I think that's why he like gives it to her.
Well, or is it?
No, I think it is.
Because I don't think he's being that helpful.
See, he we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it at the end. We'll talk about it. I will talk about why at the end why I still believe that he genuinely was trying to help them. Um so it turns out that Stover and Fleming, the two researchers, ordered a shit ton of material on stem cell research, which we know can be used for skin grafts or organ cloning, but theoretically could be used for entire human cloning. But none of that really gives them a connection to what Conrad was doing. So they're still like, okay, so they were doing some sketchy, maybe unethical medical research, but like, what is
But it's
that?
not the same thing.
It's not the same
we were
thing.
looking
Yeah.
For.
So to take a break while they're trying to figure out what to do next, Teal'c and Jonas go to a bar without Sam because that's a really good idea.
You can't let them out in public by themselves. It's irresponsible.
And then everyone in the bar is acting hella fucking weird. And Jonas is like, oh, I know, we're just outsiders. We need to socialize with them better. And it doesn't go very well.
It does not.
And Tim's like, you have much to learn. And Jonas is like, yeah, but like that's the point. I want to learn. I don't want to be cooped up on base. Like I want to understand. And Teal'c's like, listen, humans are great and they're fascinating, but at the end of the day, they're not my people. I will protect them, but then when I'm done, I'm going back to Teal'c with my son and everything's going to be fine. And Jonas goes, yeah, but see, I don't have that option. I can't go home.
I know. That was kind of sad. I know it wasn't really a sad moment or meant to be like super sad, but it was a little bit.
Yeah. And he's like, but so I do want to learn about humans because I'm going to be here for the foreseeable future. I don't want to feel or look or act like an alien. Like I want to live here. And the really sweet moment gets broken up by some guys coming over and telling them that they're in their seats and trying to kick them out of the bar. I really liked the casting of this because Teal'c like stood up as if to fight them. And almost always in the show, when Teal'c stands up to fight someone, he is massively taller than them.
Which is what I expected.
But he was not. He stood up and he was
like a couple of inches taller, but not like insanely. Like no, not what you would expect.
Right. And it was three guys, all big versus Teal'c. And so it was like a moment of, I mean, I'm sure Teal'c still could have taken them, but he was like not the normal intimidating presence you usually feel.
No, he's not. But I did think he could probably still take them, especially because Jonas was able to get a punch on him. Yeah. And so between the two of them,
for sure,
they probably could have taken him.
For sure. But then Sheriff Knox breaks up the fight and is like, what is happening in here? And so Teal'c and Jonas are like, sorry, we'll go. Like, it's fine. Because clearly they're not wanted there. So they leave the bar and the sheriff looks at the men and says, if you jeopardize this operation, I will kill you myself.
Shady sheriff.
So then I don't know if it is. Yes, it is the next day. I was trying to remember where the next scene took place. It is the next day. They're back in the restaurant and they find out that the liquid in the syringe may have been a sulfur-based antibiotic, but they like don't have any idea what it could be possibly like an antibiotic for or what it is or anything like that just yet. They're waiting for some more test results. And then the guy who attacked them in the bar is there at the restaurant. So Jonas goes to apologize just because he was like, I didn't understand like small town culture. Like I wasn't trying to like cause a problem, blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was in home like in bed last night.
When I was like, now we're talking cloning. We were talking, skin cells and like the sheriff is a good guy, but a bad guy. Like what is happening?
Yes. So then we're like, and I think that's probably Weirdly, they didn't jump to that conclusion as like intensely as I wanted them to. I was like, guys, you know that they researched themselves, and this guy has no memory of having talked to you last night, and we've already talked about cloning. Why are we not like throwing ourselves on this theory? I mean, it was wrong, but like they jump to conclusions all of the time. For some reason today they didn't. And that also makes me think is maybe Jack the reason they jumped to conclusions all of the time.
I mean, that's not a bad theory.
So then they notice the guy who's been watching them, and they basically.
Sorry, I wasn't done yet. I realized in my brain that I wasn't quite finished with that
Oh,
yet.
absolutely. Finish your thought about cloning.
Like, not about cloning, but like then jumping to conclusions. It's got to be Jack. It was Jack and Daniel, because like while Daniel is a little more analytical, a little more logical, he was ready to jump in. Sam has always been the research heavy, like science first, and then you have the two aliens who have no like emotional drive to jump to conclusions.
Sam does jump to conclusions a lot though, but usually like on a scientific, she'll be like, well, I did this research and this research and this research. And so since there's a 16% possibility this is the answer, then it has to be that.
Right.
Like, but it's like she jumps to conclusions way more than a scientist should, but not more than like a normal person should. Whereas Jack and Daniel are just like, what does my dick tell me is the answer? That's it. And Jack much more from a testosterone point of view, and Daniel from a romantically in love with everything that has ever moved and cultures and everything. Yeah. But like they're both 100% thinking with their dicks.
For sure.
So, but so they tricked this guy that was stalking them into like following them down an alley, and then they corner him. And he's like, I've been following you because I've been trying to suss out who you are and whether I can trust you or not. I was a security guard at Immunotalk, and I quit because Dr. Fleming came to me looking for my help, and I worked the graveyard shift, so he knew I couldn't be affected by whatever is happening at night, and he said that whatever they are only come for him at night, and I quit because everything that he said made me really nervous, and then he went missing, and thank God I did, because I should have been at the lab when it burned down. So he saved my life. So I didn't want to like give this information to someone if they weren't legitimate.
Right.
So that's great. But then Teal'c and Jonas are like, oh yes, right. Everyone is a clone. Got it. So they do eventually get to this conclusion. And he's like, but that's why everybody's acting so weird. And Sam's like, I don't think that that's true. Like, she's like, you don't understand humans. You're both aliens. You're both looking at like the surface. You don't understand like human motivation for things and everything that's happened to these people in this town and why they would be so weird and shut off and like what they've gone through. And she talks about like the shipyard being shut down. And Jonas, with his fucking terrifying memory, is like, oh yeah, the shipyard was shut down 2 years ago. Why are their tire tracks still there? And she's like, so they go and they're investigating this thing. And he's like, he just happened to see the tire tracks from the car while driving and memorized where they were.
Sure. Yeah.
So they investigate, and inside they find like a shit ton of like computer CDs and like schematics for a spaceship. And then, oh, surprise, the entire spaceship itself.
It's just, I don't know how people miss things. Like, I get that this is a small town and they kind of just mind their own business. That's the whole point of a small town. I mean, they gossip, but when it comes to like weird things, they're just like, that's your business, not my business. But like, if you're called out there because you think weird stuff is happening, you hear about this research, how do you miss the place that has the whole spaceship and all of the research stuff? Like, open an eye, just one eye.
Oh, well, the shipyard was closed, so clearly nothing's happened there. Have you ever watched a single movie?
Right.
Like,
it's always the broken down place or the closed place. That's where they hide things.
I mean, look at how much shit was happening in the steel mill in Hemlock Grove. Look at how many abandoned warehouses Kolchak went to.
That's
just in the shows that we've done on this podcast.
Sure enough. American Horror Story. No, what was the one? Nope, I forgot what show it was. Never mind. It may have been American Horror Story.
Well,
I mean,
obviously,
the abandoned building where
the abandoned asylum,
asylum.
and yeah, the abandoned
I was
asylum
thinking
in
of a
American
different
Horror
scene.
Story.
Oh, Exorcist, where
Oh,
they had
yeah.
all the zombies hidden, or not the zombies, the demon people hidden. Remember whatever the
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. When the guy collected all the organs and whatever. Yeah, great.
Just watch a show.
Just watch a show, any of them.
Mhm.
So they take all the stuff back with them to their motel and they're looking through the CD files, but they're encoded. And Sam's like, well, I can break the code, but it's going to take a while. So they hypothesize that there is an alien presence in the town, which at this point shouldn't be a hypothesis because they found a fucking spaceship.
Right. Right.
So
If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck.
it's obviously a chicken.
Yes.
So they. Oh, sorry. No, I didn't read the rest of my sentence. They hypothesize that the alien presence in the town is not coming from the Stargate and it's unrelated to anything they have done. That's where the rest of that sentence went.
Oh, that makes more sense.
So much more sense. I was like,
Yeah.
what? And whoever they are is trying to repair their ship, but they can only come out at night. So they're watching the shipyard to try to make sure whatever's happening, they can check out at it. So Teal'c and Jonas are staking out the shipyard. And then we get a really cool scene where the sheriff goes to sleep and then wakes up again, but clearly not as himself.
Right.
So Sam starts to
So when he wakes up, not as do you think this is when everything happens? It wasn't this way before this scene?
correct.
Okay.
Yes. So no. So not that. So at the end, I want to save my explanation to the end till the end, just because there's some things that they say when they solve the mystery that clarify. So sorry, I wrote Sam decrypts, which is not, I think the word, I think it's encoded. So it would be, I don't even know decode, but I also didn't spell didn't spell decrypt correctly. So that was part of my issue. But so she decrypts the text and finds that the people that are building the ship are in fact Goa'uld.
So next question.
Yeah.
Did we know that I know she had Jolinar in her, but does that mean she's always been able to read Goa'uld language? Or has she ever been able to read it before today? Because I don't think we've seen her read it before.
I think usually because Daniel reads it faster and that was his job was to do it, but I think she has been able to since Jolinar read it. That's what I wasn't sure. I was like, did we just decide like Daniel's not here, so now Sam can read it and we are just not going to talk about it? Or do we think she already had the ability? It just wasn't really her job and Daniel was better at it. I think at this point, 5 years in, they all have some pretty basic like reading skills of it.